All right, welcome to Hyperbolas. We're going to go ahead and take a look at all of the parts of a hyperbola. Hyperbola is an inside-out ellipse, so all you need to notice, the only difference that you will notice between the equation of a hyperbola and an equation of an ellipse is that rather than separated by a minus sign, they're separated by a plus sign. There are a few other things that you're going to have to look at. One of them, including the fundamental rectangle, helps you appropriately draw the hyperbola by determining the asymptotes that the parabola will follow. So your hyperbola's definition is here: all points on a plane where the difference of the distance from each point to the foci is constant. You've got basically two types of hyperbolas. You've got your vertical transverse axis and your horizontal transverse axis. So rather than calling it a major axis and a minor axis, we're going to call it the transverse axis and the conjugate axis. It's just a different word for major and minor. Vertical means it's up and down, and horizontal means it's left and right. You'll notice that if it is vertical, the y value will come first. Now this is going to affect your center, so you got to be really careful. You don't always just pick the first number like we've done in the past, because the first number isn't always going to be associated with the x value of the center. In this case, the first number, k, is now the y value of the center. So be very careful about that and don't get mixed up. It's a very easy mistake to make when dealing with hyperbolas. The transverse axis, as I said, was your major axis, and is A. Your conjugate axis is your minor axis, and is B. And notice that you're going to add a squared and b squared together, where it was a subtraction with the ellipse before. Alright, your horizontal transverse axis is here. Notice x comes first instead of y. All of that is still constant. It's something that doesn't change. The only thing that really does change is the difference between x and y. Alright, now let's get into that difference in drawing it. The one difference that you're going to see in drawing your hyperbola as opposed to an ellipse is this thing called the fundamental rectangle. The fundamental rectangle is drawn through the center of your hyperbola, and it is A units and B units respectively, high and wide. So you can draw that to help you find the asymptotes of the hyperbola. The way that you graph a hyperbola is by following these 7 steps. Okay, once you write it in standard form, you're going to find its center, and then you're going to determine your transverse axis, draw your vertices, and then draw the fundamental rectangle. The way you're going to draw the fundamental rectangle is by plotting the vertices A units from the center. Plot the points on the conjugate axis B units from the center. Draw the lines through each vertex, horizontal and vertical, and horizontal and vertically, and then that's going to give you your rectangle. Once you draw the diagonals of the rectangle, you've drawn your asymptotes, and then you can sketch the graph. This is an example of what a graph will look like once you are finished. I've gone ahead and labeled all of the parts as well so that you can see that. Go ahead and flip to the back of the book once you're finished copying down these notes and complete example 3. That is the one that involves your hyperbola.